At the beginning of the story, we see a girl named Dorothy, who worked for a company called BTH. Late one night, she went to meet a reporter named Melvin. It is revealed that BTH was dumping a large amount of radioactive waste into a river, which was causing strange mutations in animals and making people in the surrounding area sick. Melvin and Dorothy decided together that they would expose the company and bring its crimes before the world. But suddenly, they saw on the camera feed that the building had been surrounded by a gang called the Killer Nuts. This was a very violent gang that worked for BTH itself. Melvin quickly told Dorothy to run. He started shouting and drew the gang's attention toward himself so that Dorothy could escape, and at least the evidence could reach the world. Dorothy was running, but the gang members were already standing on the staircase. With no other option, she jumped over the railing. As soon as she landed on the ground, she realized that her hard disk had broken. That hard disk contained all the evidence against the company. Meanwhile, the gang broke into Melvin's office and fired bullets at him mercilessly. When Melvin got up, they shot him again. Even after that, when he was still standing, they attacked him brutally with a sharp weapon, after which he was thrown out of the window and fell down. Dorothy was just running away from there when Melvin's dead body fell right in front of her. She was frozen with fear, her blood running cold, and she ran away from the place. After this, we are introduced to a dwarf named Winston. His wife had died, and now he was taking care of his stepson Wade. However, there was very little communication between the two. While leaving the house, Winston saw a rich man named Spence harassing his neighbor Daisy. He was forcing her to sell her house. Spence threatened Daisy and even picked up her cat, saying that he would come back later with the papers and that until then, the cat would stay with him. But while leaving, he threw Daisy's cat in the middle of the road. Winston immediately ran to save the cat, and just then a fast-moving car came toward him. He narrowly escaped getting hit. Wade was angry at Winston and said, "Why didn't you help Daisy? Why didn't you do anything for her?" Winston replied that they were rich people and that poor people like them could do nothing against them. Winston worked as a cleaner at the BTH factory. One day, a loud alarm was ringing and people were screaming, but he ignored it and continued his work. After work, he didn't feel well and went to the doctor. After a CT scan of his brain, it was revealed that he had a brain tumor that had grown significantly. The doctor told him that he had only 1 year left to live. Surgery was no longer possible at this stage, and the alternative treatment was extremely expensive. Winston called his insurance company, but they refused to cover the cost of his treatment. Hearing this, Winston completely broke down. Meanwhile, Robert, the owner of BTH, was furious because the company's shares were falling. News about him paying illegal gangs had reached the media, and many people were also accusing him of dumping radioactive waste into rivers. His brother Fritz was the company's head of security and was the one who controlled the Killer Nuts gang. Robert saw on TV that Dorothy was still alive. Enraged, he smashed the television and ordered Fritz to capture the girl immediately, as she had evidence against them. Fritz soon met the gang and instructed them to find Dorothy as quickly as possible. The gang soon broke into Dorothy's house and caused massive destruction, but they couldn't find her. Dorothy was hiding behind the building across the street, watching everything. After the gang left, she returned home and found her roommate badly beaten. Apologizing, she took out her bag from beneath the floor and said that she would never return there again. At school, Wade's dance competition didn't go well that day. At home, Winston tried to cheer him up by wearing funny clothes and dancing for him, but Wade was still very sad. Wade noticed a medical file on the table and tried to read it, but Winston quickly came and took it away from him. Later, Winston threw the file into the dustbin and went out to drink alcohol, feeling depressed. Soon, Winston found out that there was an event happening nearby where BTH's CEO, Robert, was also present. Winston secretly entered the event and met Robert. He said, "Sir, I gave 13 years of my life to your company. I never caused trouble for anyone. I always kept my head down and did my work, but the insurance provided by the company is not covering my illness." Robert gave him false hope and said that the company would bear all his medical expenses and that he shouldn't worry. He told his assistant to take care of him. Someone called Winston outside and shut the door on his face. Inside, Robert and others were laughing at him. Angry and humiliated, Winston went to the BTH factory at night. Dorothy was hiding there as well. As soon as she saw the gate open for Winston, she quickly ran inside behind him. But the cameras detected the intrusion and an alarm went off. Fritz immediately called the gang. Dorothy tried to collect samples, and at the same time, Winston raised his broom. He was thrown into the radioactive compound. He threatened the guard, saying, "I'll smear this on your face, got it? You'll die of cancer, you bastard." After that, he quickly ran into the locker room and started filling his bag with money. While escaping, he bumped into Dorothy, and her sample spilled onto Winston's bag. The moment it touched the money, all the cash started burning. Soon, the gang members arrived, and both of them started running. The road ahead was blocked, shocked, but Dorothy quickly jumped over the wires and offered her hand to Winston. Because of his short legs, Winston couldn't run fast enough, and by then, the gang had almost caught him. Seeing them getting too close, Dorothy ran away. The gang surrounded Winston, and without any mercy, shot him straight in the face. When Fritz saw this, he became furious and ordered everyone to destroy all the evidence. They threw Winston's body and his mop into the radioactive pool. As the radioactive material entered his body, his entire form began to change. He turned into a huge green monster. Screaming in pain, he tried to go home. When he reached there, he saw Daisy being forced to sell her house to Spence. Winston secretly climbed up the fire escape and reached the window. Inside, Wade was calling the police because his stepfather had been missing for a long time. When Wade saw a strange monster standing at the window, he got terrified and threw whatever he could find at Winston. Winston fell directly onto Spence's car. Hearing the car alarm, Spence came outside and saw him. Shocked by the strange creature, Spence immediately started shooting, but Winston's wounds healed instantly. Enraged, Winston grabbed Spence's arm and snapped it in half. People on the street started recording videos of the incident. Winston ran away, and Daisy took the opportunity to get her papers back from Spence. When the police arrived, the crowd started describing the creature in strange ways. Some said he was a monster. Others claimed he was a ghost. A police officer fired a shot in the air to calm everyone down, but people were still terrified. Soon, an angry mob with torches began chasing Winston. He hid in the forest and collapsed unconscious. The next morning, he woke up in a camp where a man named Guthrie lived deep in the woods. Guthrie wasn't afraid of Winston at all. He returned Winston's mop and warned him to use it carefully because it was extremely dangerous. Back at home, Wade was watching TV and saw the police searching for the monster he had seen the previous night. He immediately called the TV station and told them everything. Meanwhile, a group of dangerous criminals stormed into a fast food restaurant and took everyone hostage. They were furious over one thing: why the restaurant's name had been changed from Mr. Meat to Miss Meat. When a police officer tried to negotiate, the gang leader shot him without hesitation. Winston, sneaking back into the city, witnessed the chaos. A blind woman cursed the gang leader and threw her drink at him. He was about to shoot her when Winston entered through the back gate and struck him in the face with his mop, tearing half of his face off. Everyone was horrified. Winston then brutally killed the remaining criminals one by one, ripping one open, smashing another, slaughtering them mercilessly. After the blood-soaked fight, all the hostages were freed. When the police saw Winston, they tried to shoot him, but the people he had saved stood up for him, calling him a hero. Reporters immediately started questioning him on camera. Watching TV, Wade recognized the monster's voice and realized it was his stepfather. Spence also saw the broadcast and recognized Winston as the man who had attacked him. Furious, his gangster father Thad sent his men to hunt Winston down, demanding revenge for his son's broken arm. After this incident, people started calling Winston a hero and taking selfies with him. Later, when Winston went up to a rooftop to relax, he discovered that his urine was acidic. It could melt anything within a minute. The media began discussing how BTH Company's chemicals had turned him into a monster, and he became known as the Toxic Avenger. Robert became furious with Fritz because Dorothy had escaped again, and because Winston had entered through the gate after it was opened. Robert suspected that Winston might be working with her. He also hated that the media was linking his company's name with the green monster, spreading negativity everywhere. But when he looked closely, he realized that the monster and his janitor were the same person. They were wearing the same skirt. Robert asked the scientist how this happened. The scientist explained that it was a freak accident. Winston had a rare gene that reacted with the radioactive waste, giving him these powers. Robert then said he wanted the same transformation. He wanted those powers too, but for that, Winston had to be captured. Meanwhile, Dorothy used Winston's ID to reach his house. After seeing his stepfather's ID, Wade let her inside. Dorothy told him everything about what had happened that night at the factory. In fact, Dorothy's mother had also died because of the same toxic waste. Just then, some dangerous goons broke down the door and stormed inside. Dorothy managed to get Wade out through the window in time, but one of the goons shot a tracking chip into Wade's leg from a distance so they could track his location. Soon, on the road, the two of them ran into Winston. Winston finally told Wade the truth, that he had cancer. At that moment, Thad's men arrived and started firing at Winston. Dorothy quickly got Wade away from there, while Winston fought back fiercely, killing one man with his mop before escaping. In the forest, Wade heard a beeping sound, and both of them discovered the tracker. Soon, the Killer Nuts gang showed up, shot Dorothy, and captured Wade. Winston hid inside an old building and examined his wounds. The bullets had come out, but the holes had not yet closed. Thad's men were still hunting him, so Winston hid inside a garbage bag and attacked them from above. He grabbed one man and held him in front so that if anyone fired, the bullets would hit him instead. He killed another man the same way, then jumped onto a car and smashed the driver's skull. Later, Winston found Dorothy and carried her to Guthrie's camp. Guthrie said he used to be a doctor but could no longer practice. Winston poured his own blood into Dorothy's wound, and she healed. When she regained consciousness, she said she would fight alongside Winston. Inside the gang's van, Fritz told Wade there was nothing to be afraid of. "We only want Winston. You were taken by mist." Wade exploded in anger and said, "What do you think? I don't care about my dad. He's the only man in this world who truly loves me." He then asked Fritz if there was anyone in his life who loved him. Fritz became furious because he had no answer to the boy's question. Meanwhile, Thad called Robert and scolded him, saying that the dwarf had gained his powers because of Robert's company. "God knows what kind of waste you're dumping into the rivers," he said. Soon after, the Killer Nuts gang began performing a show. Dorothy disconnected the microphone and connected Winston's mic instead. Winston entered the crowd and started singing their famous song. The audience thought this was a planned superhero entry at the concert and began cheering wildly. Some excited girls even flashed their prized assets in excitement. Seeing Winston, the singer became furious and started shooting at him. Winston struck back with a single swing of his mop, blowing half of the singer's head off. Panic erupted, and people began running in fear. The band members attacked Winston. One man fell off the stage and died instantly. Winston swung his mop again, piercing straight through a musician's head and smashing the DJ's mixer table, electrocuting the DJ. Then he attacked the guitarist, knocked him down, ripped off his beard, and shoved it into his mouth. The crowd stood frozen in shock and terror. Now they began to believe that their hero might actually be a monster. At that moment, Winston revealed the truth to everyone. He exposed that the band members were criminals working for the BTH company and revealed all their secrets in front of the public. When the last remaining thug tried to escape, Dorothy struck him on the head with a wooden plank. Winston pulled off his mask and demanded to know where Wade was. The thug had a face like a child, but even then, he revealed Wade's location with his tiny mouth. Soon after, Winston and Dorothy arrived at Robert's mansion. Winston removed his eye and scanned the area to check for danger. He spotted two guards standing at the entrance. Dorothy went to flirt with them, acting like a total bad girl. The guards became so excited that they ended up shooting each other. Inside, Wade was locked in a garden shed. He saw Winston and tried to warn him about the danger, but it was already too late. One of Robert's statues released sleeping gas on them. They realized the trap far too late. When they regained consciousness, they found themselves tied up inside a laboratory. The scientists extracted Winston's blood and tried to create a serum for Robert, but it failed. Robert ordered them to keep experimenting until they succeeded. Winston was subjected to extremely painful tests. Eventually, the scientists managed to create a serum that partially worked, but Robert ignored their warnings about its flaws and took the vial anyway. Just then, Thad arrived with his men and turned on the news. Winston's concert massacre had spread across the media. The mayor also turned against them and announced that she would no longer support BTH. Thad wanted to punish Robert for mishandling the situation. Feeling threatened, Robert decided to drink the serum himself so he could become powerful and never be bullied by petty gangsters again. At first, the changes were not very dramatic. Only minor transformations began to appear. He became extremely fast and powerful. Within seconds, he brutally killed Thad and his men in horrifying ways. I can't describe those kills in detail because YouTube doesn't allow that much gore, but trust me, they were extremely violent. When his assistant approached him, her transformation was completed, and now she also looked like a monster. She wanted to drink the serum too, but only a few drops were left, which she drank. Soon, Robert started feeling strange. That's when the scientists finally completed their explanation and revealed that the serum wasn't fully ready yet. Enraged, she shouted at them to fix her immediately, and Robert ordered the guards to kill all the prisoners, even the child, Wade. Hearing this shocked Fritz. When he looked at Robert, Fritz realized that the serum had affected him as well. Still, he couldn't bring himself to kill an innocent child. He stopped the guards and said, "This is no longer my brother Robert. This is someone else, someone I don't recognize." Furious, one of them kicked Fritz between the legs and began beating him with an iron rod. Meanwhile, Dorothy overheard that they were planning to kill Wade. She immediately motivated Winston to fight. Poor Winston tried with all his strength but couldn't break the chains. Then he remembered his urine was acidic. He politely told Dorothy to look away, quickly unzipped his pants, chains and urinated on the chains. His deadly acidic urine melted them instantly, freeing both of them. Dorothy stole a computer as evidence. As two guards approached, Winston shouted to distract them. He killed one by smashing him with a stone and knocked the other unconscious with his attacks. Another guard fired a bullet, which accidentally hit a gas tank, causing a massive explosion that destroyed the shed. Winston was in shock and thought Wade had died. Just then, Robert arrived and attacked Winston with a deadly axe. Their weapons clashed, and the radioactive mop sliced through the axe. But Robert was stronger. He knocked the mop away and launched a brutal assault on Winston. However, the broken edge of the axe, where the mop had cut it, ended up pressing against Robert's own neck, saving Winston's life by sheer luck. Seizing the moment, Winston grabbed the mop again and burned Robert's face with it. Robert now realized Winston was stronger than him. He tried to run, with Winston chasing after him. Meanwhile, someone attacked Dorothy from behind and tried to strangle her with a chain. After struggling, Dorothy managed to free herself and was ready to fight back. Winston and Robert continued battling. When the attacker turned toward them, Dorothy smashed him over the head with a toilet seat and finally knocked him down. Robert then knocked Winston to the ground and was about to kill him when Dorothy struck Robert with the toilet seat as well. Still, Robert refused to give up. During the fight, he accidentally punctured a toxic waste tank. Winston broke Robert's axe completely and began punching him repeatedly. He grabbed Robert by the neck. Just then, Wade arrived and called Winston Dad for the first time. Fritz had saved Wade through a hidden tunnel. Distracted by the emotional moment, Winston was attacked again by Robert, but this time Winston used his mop to throw Robert onto a car. Robert's head slammed into the hood, and Dorothy started the engine, shredding him into pieces. As Winston went toward Wade, someone stabbed him from behind. Fritz tried to stop the attacker, but had his throat slit. Winston grabbed the attacker, and both of them fell into the radioactive waste. A massive explosion followed, killing the attacker. Sometime later, Winston woke up in a hospital. The blind woman from the burger joint was there too, revealed to be a secret agent. She turned on the TV, where the news showed that Dorothy had leaked the data and exposed the BTH company. The mayor and several police officers were also involved in the corruption. The agent explained that she had been after BTH for years, and with Winston's help, had finally managed to arrest them. Winston would face no charges. The doctor then revealed that the mutations in Winston's body had also destroyed his cancer completely. When Winston left the hospital, Daisy and a large crowd were waiting outside to thank him. Wade hugged his father for the first time, while Dorothy waved goodbye from a distance. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll meet again in the next video.